Thank you for listening to Life Improvement Radio. You are listening to a rebroadcast of a previously recorded show.
We're live from the Mind Book Fair, powered by Life Improvement Radio. NeilHaley.com for the Neil Haley Show. I keep forgetting what show I'm on or whatever, but we have such an unbelievable 5 hours of author interviews from the Mind Book Fair. 8th year. Eric, I thought it was the 7th year. So, Eric, can you believe 8 years? You and I met for the first time in person in Miami, and I just posted that today on my personal Facebook page. You can follow me at Neil S. Haley, but I have 5,000 friends. But go ahead and follow me today. I don't care. We can add more followers to that list, as I have another page, Neil Shelby Haley, that you can friend me on as well, even though I never go on it. But, Eric, it's amazing. When we first met and how you kind of gave me the first opportunity by myself to interview people, because I was doing my show for about 11 months with co-hosts because I didn't feel comfortable. And you threw me to the wolves that day, and it was an amazing experience, and I can't believe it's 8 years later.
Yeah, we're still here. We're still going, and it's great. I'm super excited.
And I have Peter Alvish as well, Perseverance Network. He's my social media guy. You see video guy, everything, and his amazing growth as well. But now I'm excited to welcome program New York Times best-selling author, and I know he loves that title. Anybody that's decided to write, if they can have that as a title, it's great. Nicholas Reynolds, author of Ernest Hemingway's Secret Adventures, 1935 to 1961. Writer, sailor, soldier, spy. Nicholas, how are you?
I am great. I'm here in Miami, and this is a fabulous book fair. It's just so we labor in silence most of the time, and it's great to get together with other people who labor in silence and talk about what we do in silence most of the time.
Some days I labor in silence as well. I don't know who's listening, even though a lot are. You don't get that feedback when you're doing guest interviews. It's not like political talk where you cause a lot of heat and people are tweeting you and different things like that. I can tell you I have gotten heat from certain interviews I've done, especially with Michael Jackson's doctor who ended up killing him. Michael Jackson fans did not like me doing him. So I've had those kind of days, but not the feedback you always want. Now, Nicholas, why Ernest Hemingway? I'm not even going to jump. I don't want to talk about how you're doing in Miami and anything because of his Hemingway. Why did you write about Ernest Hemingway?
Okay, well, two reasons. First of all, I'm a lifelong Hemingway fan. Ever since I could read, I've been reading Hemingway. And secondly, I came upon this story about Hemingway and espionage while I was doing something else. I was the historian for the CIA Museum, and I stumbled on Hemingway and espionage, or intelligence, more precisely, in World War II, and I went, "Whoa, what's this story?" And as I started pulling on threads, basically not intending to write a book or even an article, it was just curiosity, and I got pulled in. The story sucked me in, and this book found me, not the other way around.
Are you kidding me? That's interesting, because I had no idea. And Eric, did you have any idea about Ernest Hemingway and this background? I had no idea.
I didn't either. I'm super excited to hear more about your writings and this project, and if you have any more projects you're working on about Hemingway as well.
Well, I'm struggling with you write one book and that's not enough, and so the publisher and the agent, my agent, who's a wonderful guy, says, so when do you want me to really start? He didn't use the word pester, but and I think he used the word nagging you about the next book, and he stimulates me to be creative and keep at it. I don't have another Hemingway book right at this minute. I might stay in the espionage field and write another book about that. I mean, that's what I know best, having worked for the CIA, and I also worked for the Marine Corps. In both capacities, I was in the history branch at the end of my time for a number of years. So it's probably going to be something like that, but I'm not sure yet. It's going to come. I'm going to wake up one morning and it's going to be, that's it. I've got it, and I'll run with it from there.
Wow, for sure. How about you, Peter? Were you surprised about this Ernest Hemingway, what he did in his life? I had no idea.
Yeah, I definitely am. I'm interested to learn more. I am a light history buff, but I'm not, I'm not heavy into history, so I want to learn more, and I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit more about your book.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
So tell us about this. Let's go right into it. Just to not give away everything, what did we learn specifically about Ernest Hemingway that you were very surprised about once you started delving into this?
So the thing that surprised me the most was that Ernest Hemingway had a relationship with Soviet intelligence.
Wow.
And it went considerably beyond, we had one or two meetings. They asked him if he wanted to be an agent of theirs, and he said yes. And that's according to their files. And we have about 12 pages of excerpts from the Hemingway file as the NKVD, the KGB predecessor, Soviet intelligence, wrote it. So that was kind of the aha moment for me. I went, wow, I don't know this. I'm a Hemingway fan. I probably before I started this, I had read almost every word that Hemingway wrote, and I'd read a number of books about Hemingway. And there's some bits and pieces about his fascination with intelligence, but it's mostly they were odd things. He's hunting for German submarines and working with the Office of Naval Intelligence down in the Caribbean. In the Spanish Civil War, he was working with the counterintelligence to defend the Spanish Republic. Later on, he did a little bit with the Office of Strategic Services, which is American intelligence in World War II, and that the Soviets were in there too. So I started looking for themes. I started looking, is this just a series of kind of one-night stands, or is this telling us something about Ernest's life and his political vision and the things he was trying to do in addition to being a great writer? So this is a really restless, energetic guy, and he went at it big time.
He did, and that concerned about Soviet intelligence is when people read this, are they going? Some of them are going to be a little bit angry at Ernest about that.
There are, I've gotten I haven't gotten as many angry people. Not too many people are angry at me. There are a few people who are. I'm on the dork side of things, so there's lots of footnotes in there, and I'm very careful how I word things. So I don't see a lot of people being angry at me, but there are some people who've expressed anger at Ernest for kind of like, how could you? And once you get into it's a story with a lot of nuances. He's not pro-Soviet per se, and he's not a communist by any means, but he's an anti-fascist, and he likes the Soviets because he thinks they're the leading anti-fascist team. So you're going to fight Hitler and Mussolini and those guys starting in the Spanish Civil War. So before World War II, he says the Soviets are that's the A team, and he wants to be with the A team.
Wow. Yeah, the Soviets are the A team. What do you think of that, Peter? For people that, we're going to go to schools and they're teaching Hemingway, and what do you think some people that are pro-American are going to think about that, Peter? That's, as Nicholas brought up, oh my gosh.
There's definitely going to be multiple different opinions of it, and just, learning more and more about it, I'm just curious, but I would question looking at the book and kind of looking at different parts of it. Oh shoot, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. As to I lost my train of thought. I apologize. I'm gonna pass it.
Don't worry.
I'll jump right back.
All of us.
Now, what about the whole thing about Hemingway? Involving, and then Peter, you can jump right back if you remembered it after. Just give it to me. I'll give you throw it right back. Write it down. No, when we talk about Hemingway, the soldier. Now, what did you think of learning about him in wars and battles as a soldier?
So this is a very important part of his life, and there's a number of books that focus on Hemingway and war. my specific take is I don't disagree with any of that, but the point I want to make is that Hemingway had all these different personas, activities, call them what you will, and he was very good at all of them. The title is not just meant to be a clever takeoff on the English children's rhyme, which has been used a couple times before, similarly Le Carré, and then a book on the Civil War last year or a year ago. But he was a writer par excellence, right? He's a world-class writer. And then he's also a sailor, he's a soldier, and a spy, and he's pretty good at all of these things. So your specific question was about soldier. Hemingway's an amazingly good soldier. He has the kind of instinctive knowledge that guys and girls, spend a lifetime trying to develop. And his only formal military training was in World War I, and it was how to hand out coffee and donuts to Italian soldiers for the Red Cross in 1918. That's it. And so he built up his knowledge as an amateur through his reading, through being a hunter and outdoorsman, and just has this amazing sense of, what you're supposed to do on the battlefield, how you're supposed to fight, where the enemy is, how people are going to behave in the face of the enemy. He's a very good soldier, even though he was too much of an individual, a lone wolf in some ways, to ever submit to formal military discipline.
Huh. Interesting. Very, very
an instinctive soldier, but not an organizational soldier, if I could put it that way.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Peter, with your question.
Yeah, so I was just curious, like, when you're writing the book and you're researching, what were the major, besides kind of finding out the newest information, what were big shockers that you were putting into the book that kind of, not only from the sake of learning new information, but there were just major defining points of what you found out as new information?
So initially, I thought this was primarily a World War II story. So it starts the background was the Spanish Civil War, and then the period when he's really intensely occupied with intelligence of various sorts is during World War II. So I wrote an article that basically ran from 1939 to 1945 and kind of wrapped it up. And then I wasn't sure that the subject had very long legs, and so but I was curious. So I had I had hunches. I love to research. I love to labor in silence. I love to go to the library by myself and read a book or find a new archive to visit and pore over old letters and stuff like that. And so eventually I found a set of letters where he talked about his relationship with the Soviets, not in great detail, but there were enough sort of references that if you knew the backstory, you could see what he's referring to in a letter 5 or 6 years later. And I thought, wow, he's still thinking about, in 1950, 1952, 55, he's still thinking about what he did in 1940. So eventually, through the letters I found, which are in Princeton University Library, I said this is a story that goes from just before the Spanish Civil War until his suicide and played a role in his life. So it's not just a story about espionage; it's a story about Hemingway's life, and basically I want to be thought of as adding another layer to the story, not just telling an interesting sidebar. It's not just did you know Ernest also did this? I want to say I want my readers to go away agreeing with me that or drawing their own conclusion that Ernest did things, and these things were an important part of his life, and they played a role in towards the end of his life when he's in Cuba. He lives in Cuba, and he gets involved with Castro, or he gets involved with Castro's movement. He only meets Castro once for sure, maybe two times, but once for sure. But anyway, he supports the Castro's movement, and the reason he does it has the same motivation. He's basically refighting the Spanish Civil War, which he lost, or his side lost. And here's a guy who looks about the same. And Castro looks kind of like the guerrillas in the Spanish Civil War. So, and Castro at this point is not a communist. There's some communists in the movement, but it's a broad coalition of left of center groups and anti-authoritarian groups in Cuba, and Hemingway's all for that.
Well, okay. Well, awesome. Peter, another question.
Yeah, well, I just had a thought of building off of that. Was it difficult, because there was a lot of different paperwork, a lot of different things to cross-reference. Was it difficult kind of cross-referencing and then putting the pieces together to kind of create the missing parts of the story?
That's a good question. So I have to confess, I teach a couple of college courses every so often, and I'd never tell my students to do this. I just started to write and then fit the pieces in as I went along. So what I did to get a hold of the story after this thing started growing like Topsy, I did a master chronology of his life. So, which is there's a guy who's done a guy named Brewster Chamberlain who's done a great job in the book published. That's basically almost day by day of Ernest's life. And so I took a copy of his work and then added on to that for kind of my research tool, my private research tool, the things that I had found. So I pretty much stuck chronologically to the story, but so I had sort of a method.
All right. Well, fantastic. I think this is phenomenal. That's why definitely New York Times best-selling author. We can pick up Ernest Hemingway's Secret Adventures, 1935 to 1961, writer, sailor, soldier, and spy, in all finer bookstores. Especially don't forget your independent bookstores. And where can we find information on you, Nicholas? Where can we go?
So you can go to HarperCollins author page. So it's harpercollins.com, and you go to author, and you'll find stuff about me. I'm so old-fashioned I don't have my own website. But if you also go and cruise on Amazon, there's Amazon will call up what people are saying about the book, and but it's both of those websites are pretty strong on you can find out a lot about the book. Let me put it that way.
All right, well, fantastic. Thanks for calling and take care. Best of luck.
Okay, all right. Same to you. Okay. Thanks for talking.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You're listening to Neil Haley Show, powered by Life Improvement Radio, live from the Mind Book Fair, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Thank you for listening to Life Improvement Radio. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own and shall not be construed in any way as advice from Life Improvement Radio. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our website. Personal perspectives expressed by the producers, writers, or editors will always be presented as such. Any rebroadcast or retransmission without the expressed written consent of Life Improvement Radio is strictly prohibited. Thanks for listening.